But the big upset this evening is former Prime Minister Tony Abbott, who is right now conceding defeat. Our reporter Hannah Sinclair is at Zali Steggall's election party on Sydney's northern beaches. And Hannah, the crowd behind you, they look pretty worked up this evening. They're excited.
That's right, Brett. They are watching Tony Abbott on screen here at this event, Zali Steggall's event in Manly. They're pretty happy with themselves so far. Let's have a listen to what Tony Abbott has to say.
It's disappointing for us here in Warringah.
Now, I'm going to do something which I did 25 years ago in an earlier speech at this club. And that was the speech I gave at my pre-selection. I'm going to move this lectern out. Well, first I want to say to all of you that tonight we've got good news, and yes, we've got a little bit of bad news, but the good news is much more important than the bad news. The good news is that there is every chance that the Liberal National Coalition has won this election. This is a really extraordinary result. It is a stupendous result. It is a great result for Scott Morrison and the rest of the wider Liberal team, and Scott Morrison will now quite rightly enter the Liberal pantheon forever. So of course, it's disappointing for us here in Warringah. But what matters is what's best for the country. And what's best for the country is not so much who wins or loses Warringah, but who forms or does not form a government in Canberra. And tonight, we can be extraordinarily confident, more confident than we had ever had any right to expect, that we will have continued good Liberal national government.
So Tony Abbott conceding defeat there after 25 years of holding this seat. It's been a significant achievement for the independent candidate and her campaign here. A lot of her supporters say that it was time for a change in Warringah, that important issues like climate change were at the top of their agenda. Zali Steggall is due to address the crowds here at this Manly event, but here's what some of her supporters told me a little bit earlier.
So fantastic. We've got a progressive representative member now after 25 years. I'm so excited. We can't believe it.
This is a great moment in history. Like, we just beat it up to somebody. Should have gone on years ago. This is a history moment. Here we go. Zali!
Change did or did not play.
Now, senior Liberal figures are already analysing this significant swing against Tony Abbott. Here's what Julie Bishop had to say about the result.
I come back to that issue of climate change. He's a climate change denier personified and clearly out of step with his electorate. And then the same-sex marriage issue, again, where Warringah had one of the highest votes in support of same-sex marriage and Tony abstained, and I think that did him a lot of damage. You have to be aligned to the thoughts and aspirations and hopes and dreams of your electorate in major issues.
So a significant casualty here in Warringah, and Zali Steggall supporters are eagerly awaiting to hear from her after her successful campaign in what is a big upset of the night early in. Brett?
Thank you very much. Hannah Sinclair there reporting from a very loud celebratory party in Sydney's Northern Beaches. And
next, let's head to reporter Hannah Sinclair. She's in one of the most closely watched electorates of the campaign. Of course, we're talking about Warringah, where the former Prime Minister Tony Abbott, we now know, has lost his battle with former Olympic skier and Independent Zali Steggall. Hannah is at the event in Manly. Zali Steggall's there, we know, Hannah, on the Northern Beaches. So what's happening?
Well, Janice, Zali Steggall has received a hero's welcome here tonight at her official event. There's currently some thank you speeches going on to the team who supported her in this campaign to unseat Tony Abbott, who's held this seat in Warringah for 25 years. So it certainly is a big upset, but Zali Steggall will be heading to Canberra. She says that her win is a win for moderates with a heart, and that she's confident that her agenda that really pushes climate change as a top issue will be able to cut through. And here's what she told me a little bit earlier when we spoke to her after her winning speech.
I'm just, so thankful and honoured that so many people in Warringah have put their trust in me. I think it is a referendum for change. A lot of people in Warringah want a different style of politics, but they also want action on climate change.
You've said that this is a win for moderates with a heart. It's looking like it might be a coalition win tonight. Do you think that Canberra's ready to work with someone like yourself, and what do you hope to achieve?
Look, I certainly hope so. We have to move on from making climate change a political football. We have to take care of our future and our children's future. And I certainly hope someone like Scott Morrison, if it's him that's going to continue as our Prime Minister, will be focused on that future.
So very different scenes at the other event here in this electorate at Tony Abbott's event. He addressed his supporters and he seemed quite defiant in his speech, obviously acknowledging that he had lost, but that what we've already acknowledged in our program so far, that the coalition appears to be on track for a victory. Here's what Tony Abbott...
I can't say that it doesn't hurt to lose, but I decided back then in October of last year that if I had to lose, so be it. I'd rather be a loser than a quitter. And I do acknowledge the fierce and ultimately successful campaign that has been waged by my political opponents in this speech. I do congratulate Zali Steggall on what is a magnificent win for her, and I hope that she will have a long... And I hope that she will have the long and successful career as local member that the people of Warringah deserve.
Well, Hannah, we see an independent celebrating there in Sydney's Northern Beaches, but in Sydney's eastern suburbs, it's a very different story for Dr. Karen Phelps, the, it seems, former member for Wentworth in Malcolm Turnbull's old seat.
That's right, Brett. Look, people have really been closely watching the independents campaigning in both of these electorates. And you've got to remember that the voters there in Wentworth, they were last at the polls only a few months ago at the end of last year after Malcolm Turnbull was ousted as Prime Minister. So it was maybe some of the analysis that's beginning to roll in is that some of that anger over the ousting of Malcolm Turnbull may have worn off. Who knows? Was that a protest vote in October? It now seems that Dave Sharma has regained some of that ground that he lost, and that he could well be heading back to Canberra.
Thanks so much. That's Hannah Sinclair joining us from Warringah.